Section 1. The most terrifying part of this story is that if a single photo had been cropped differently, nobody might have realized what was about to happen. It began on an ordinary school night. A 13-year-old boy was sitting in his living room, half paying attention to the television glowing across the room. The house was quiet. Nothing unusual was happening. It was the kind of evening that disappears from memory almost as soon as it ends. But one message changed everything. For the past few nights, he had been talking to a girl he liked. They were both in middle school, and recently she had started sending him Snapchat selfies. What began as casual conversations had slowly become something he looked forward to every evening. That night, his phone vibrated. A Snapchat notification appeared. He opened it and saw a picture of her lying in bed. There was no caption, just her face resting on a pillow. The soft glow of her bedroom lamp illuminated part of the room behind her. Everything looked normal. He smiled and typed back, "What's up?" A few moments later, another snap arrived. It looked almost identical to the first one. Same angle, same expression, same bedroom. This time, however, she had added a caption. Not much. You. She had set the timer to 10 seconds. Normally, he would have glanced at the photo and replied immediately. But because the timer was so long, his eyes wandered around the image. Across the room behind her was a window. Outside, darkness swallowed everything beyond the glass. At first, nothing seemed strange. Then he noticed it. A shape, a dark silhouette. Someone appeared to be standing outside the window. He frowned and leaned closer to his screen. Maybe it was a coat hanging somewhere. Maybe it was a reflection. Maybe it was one of her family members. The figure was blurry enough to make him question himself. Still, something about it felt wrong. His stomach tightened. Before the snap disappeared, he took one final look. The shape hadn't moved. It remained there, silent and motionless in the darkness behind her. He immediately sent a message. "Is that your brother by the window?" As soon as he hit send, a strange feeling settled over him. The kind of feeling that appears when your mind notices a danger before you can fully explain why. And moments later, that feeling would become much worse. Section 2. The reply came quickly. Another selfie. Another 10-second timer. Another nearly identical photograph. At first glance, it looked exactly the same. But this time there was a caption. "What do you mean?" The boy stared at the image. His pulse instantly sped up. The figure was no longer standing in the same position. It was closer, much closer. The dark shape that had been near the edge of the window now seemed almost pressed against it. For a second, he wondered if his imagination was getting carried away. Then he saw something that erased all doubt. A hand, a human hand, flattened against the glass. The fingers were visible even in the darkness. Long, unmistakable fingers pressed directly against her bedroom window. His chest tightened. The room around him suddenly felt colder. The television continued playing in the background, but he barely heard it anymore. All of his attention was locked onto the photo. The girl was still smiling at the camera. She clearly hadn't noticed what was behind her. Whoever was outside knew she was there, and whoever was outside had gotten closer. The realization hit him hard. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a family member. Someone was standing outside her bedroom window in the middle of the night, watching her. He immediately closed the snap before the timer expired. His fingers moved so fast he nearly dropped his phone. He typed a message. "There's somebody at your window. Turn around." Then he hit send. For several seconds, he stared at the screen. Nothing. Then he saw that she had opened the message. Relief washed over him. Good. She had seen it. Surely she would look. Surely she would realize what was happening. He waited for a response. 1 minute passed. Then 2. Then 5. No reply. He sent another message. Nothing. The cheerful excitement he had felt earlier was completely gone now. A growing sense of dread settled into its place. He checked Snapchat again. Still nothing. The silence felt unnatural. The kind of silence that grows heavier every minute. Eventually, he left the app and tried texting her directly. No response. He waited. Still nothing. The longer the silence continued, the more disturbing possibilities filled his mind. And somewhere miles away, in a dark bedroom illuminated by a phone screen, something had already gone horribly wrong. Section 3. The next hour felt endless. Every few minutes, he checked his phone. No messages. No notifications. No explanation. At first, he tried convincing himself everything was fine. Maybe her phone died. Maybe her parents took it away. Maybe she simply went to sleep. But deep down, He didn't believe any of those explanations. Not after what he had seen. Not after that hand against the glass. He texted again. Nothing. He called her phone. The call rang. No answer. He tried once more. Still nothing. The unanswered calls only made his anxiety worse. He paced around his room, replaying the photos over and over in his mind. The first silhouette, the second image, the hand, the way the figure had moved closer. Every detail seemed more disturbing than the last. Outside his own house, the night was completely still. Occasionally, he could hear distant traffic or the faint sound of wind brushing against the trees. But inside his room, the loudest sound was his own thoughts. He wished he knew her parents' number. If he could have called them directly, he would have. Instead, he was trapped in a helpless state of uncertainty. Hours passed. The clock continued moving toward midnight. His imagination began constructing terrible scenarios. Had someone broken into her house? Had she gotten hurt? Had the police been called? Each possibility seemed worse than the one before it. Eventually, he climbed into bed. But sleep wasn't even close to possible. His phone rested beside him on the mattress. Every few seconds, he checked the screen. Still nothing. The darkness of his room seemed heavier than usual. He kept remembering the expression on her face in those selfies. Completely unaware. Completely vulnerable. Then, just after midnight, his phone suddenly lit up. A text message. His heart jumped. It was from her. For a moment, he simply stared at the notification. Relief and fear collided at the same time. At least she was alive. But whatever had happened was serious enough to keep her silent for hours. With shaking hands, he opened the message. What she told him next would confirm that the danger had been far worse than either of them had imagined. Because the figure outside her window hadn't been watching from a distance. It had been preparing to come inside. Section 4. According to her message, everything happened within seconds after she opened his warning. When she read, "There's somebody at your window. Turn around." Confusion was her first reaction. She didn't understand what he meant. Then she looked over her shoulder. The moment her eyes reached the window, she froze. There was a man standing outside. Right there. Only a few feet away. Looking directly into her room. The shock hit instantly. She screamed. Not a small startled gasp. A full scream of terror. The kind that erupts before the brain has time to process what it's seeing. For a brief moment, the man seemed surprised. Then everything escalated. Instead of running away, he moved toward the window. Fast. Before she could react, he pushed it open. The sound of the frame sliding upward cut through the room. Then he climbed inside. The realization that a stranger had just entered her bedroom triggered pure panic. She didn't stop to think. She didn't stop to grab anything. She ran. Her bare feet slammed against the floor as she sprinted into the hallway. Every survival instinct in her body was screaming at her to get away. She raced through the dark house and headed directly toward her parents' bedroom. Behind her, she could hear movement. Whether the man was following her or simply moving through the room, she didn't know. And she wasn't about to look back and find out. She burst into her parents' room and woke them up. Her words came out fragmented and frantic. "There's somebody in my room." Her father was on his feet almost immediately. Still half awake, but fully alert, he rushed from the bedroom and headed toward her room. The hallway felt impossibly long. The house was silent except for hurried footsteps. Every second felt stretched. When her father finally reached the room and switched on the light, he expected to confront an intruder. Instead, he found something else. The room was empty. No stranger. No movement. No sound. Only an open window leading out into the darkness. Whoever had entered had already disappeared, gone as quickly as he had arrived. But the evidence left behind made one thing terrifyingly clear. The intruder had been real, and he had been inside her bedroom. Section 5. The investigation that followed eventually revealed who the intruder was. He wasn't a ghost. He wasn't an urban legend. He wasn't a misunderstood shadow. He was a real man in his 20s. A grown adult standing outside the bedroom window of a 13-year-old girl. For everyone involved, that fact was more frightening than any supernatural explanation could have been. The boy sat in bed reading her messages over and over. As the details sank in, he felt a chill run through him. Hours earlier, he had simply been watching television and exchanging casual snaps. Now he was learning that someone had opened her bedroom window and climbed inside. The difference between safety and disaster had come down to a few seconds. A single photograph, a single observation, a single message. He kept thinking about the timing. If she had taken the picture from a slightly different angle, he might never have seen the figure. If he had responded immediately without looking at the background, he might have missed the silhouette completely. If she hadn't opened his warning right away, events could have unfolded very differently. Those thoughts stayed with him long after the conversation ended. Even today, the story remains disturbing because of how ordinary it began. There were no warning signs, no dramatic buildup, just two middle school kids sending messages back and forth on a normal evening. One was lying comfortably in bed. The other was sitting at home watching television. Neither had any idea that a dangerous stranger was already standing outside a bedroom window. What makes the story especially unsettling is the realization that the intruder likely never expected anyone to notice him. He couldn't have known another person was examining those photos. He couldn't have known someone miles away was studying the background. And he certainly couldn't have known that his presence had already been discovered. In a strange way, technology became the reason the encounter ended differently than it might have. A casual selfie captured more than a face. It captured a threat. And because someone happened to look closely enough, a girl received a warning at exactly the right moment. The open window was eventually closed. The night ended. Life moved forward. But one question still lingers. What might have happened if nobody had noticed the figure standing silently in the darkness behind her? That question remains unanswered. And perhaps that's the most